Hello and welcome to another Monday Imperator Dev Diary video. So, as per usual on a Monday, we have a new developer diary, and I have had a glance through it. I haven't gone super deep into what I've read, but so far I'm very optimistic about the changes that are in this dev diary. So how about we just jump right into it, and you can see for yourselves because I'm happy. Right, anyway, let's go. Hello and welcome to another developer diary for Imperator Rome Menander update. Today's dev diary will not be about any single big feature, but rather cover some of the small to medium-sized things we've done in the Menander update. Some of these additional iterations done on already described systems, while others are things we wanted to address, older things in the game that we weren't happy with. So first off, Diadochi Wars. The recent patch, or the most recent patch I should say, Archimedes did add the starting events for the Diadochi, which basically kind of pushes them to war, which has been, in my opinion, a fantastic improvement. There will be a Diadochi war like 99% of the time, which is lovely. I very much enjoy it. But apparently that was not enough. The situation that happened in history was they all had a big old fight, and then they went and had a big old fight in Ipsus, and Antigonus died there, and then his empire was completely carved up by the others. That's still not totally possible to do, and by not totally possible, I mean it's impossible to do. But we will be getting a new CB, a new war goal on the other Diadochi now. If you are playing as one of the Diadochi, you can declare war on any of the other Diadochi with this war goal, and it's quite nice. So let's have a read. First up is a change to everyone's favourite successor kings. When our game starts, the conflict over Alexander the Great's empire was still very much alive, with the Antagonids facing off against all the other Diadochi, seemingly on their way to defeating them all single-handedly. That was basically until Seleucus came up with his bloody elephants, did this crazy forced march, which, like, going from India to the middle of Anatolia in a very short space of time, massively impressive. And he came up, joined the battle, and well, we all know how the Battle of Ipsus went, because I literally just said it. Anyway, last update saw the introduction of a scripted ramp-up to the continuation of the Diadochi Wars. In the Menander update, we'll have further built on those changes and introduced some other tweaks to this dynamic. So, we have the Legacy of Alexander war goal. So we have a new war goal that we can use. War goal is to show superiority. Participants will gain war score from winning battles. Accumulating more than 10 war score from battles will grant you a ticking war score. So it's a show superiority CB. However, both sides will receive significant reductions to province war score cost, as opposed to the regular show superiority, which has massive increases to war score cost. How much significant has yet to be determined, yet to be shown, but it's quite nice regardless, and it's going to be interesting to see how much you're going to actually be able to take. Will the complete partition and destruction of the Antigonid kingdom be possible? Who knows? Anyway. First of all, there's a new war goal available to all successors from the point they get their claims on the other parties up until they trigger the Epigoni event, where their initial kings die, or in the case of the Antagonids, when the king after Antigonus dies, which is usually Demetrius. The superiority war goal is only viable against other Diadochi and allows you to cheaply demand large amounts of land from them when you or if you win. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how much land that is. It'd be nice to see a comparison. But moving further on, something that we already knew, because it was teased a few times, but Phrygia is now no more. It is now going to be named the Antigonid Kingdom, which is perfectly fine. I like it. It would be nice if it changed name to Antigonid Empire, if you managed to bring it all the way to 600 provinces that you need, or 600 territories. The kingdom of Antigonus is now referred to as the Antigonid Kingdom instead of Phrygia. Back in the day, we wanted a geographic name for this country, so Phrygia was chosen after Antigonus's satrapy. At the end of the day, though, the state is much more well known as the Antigonid Kingdom, so we are now reverting to that. All good by me. Cappadocian revolt. What has reached us there? Our satrap in Cappadocia, Amyntas, has been overthrown. The old heir to the Persian satrap Arianthes is returned, taking control of the entire region. The Etnire region. It's the Etnire, not the entire. With things being what they are in regards to the other Macedonian successor kingdoms, it's not clear if we can afford to strike against our former subject state in Cappadocia. The event chain for accepting Ariarathes, whatever, back into Cappadocia has been changed to be less deterministic when it triggers. This means it's more likely to happen before or during the war between the Antigonids and the other Diadochi. Cappadocia will now also become a tributary of Armenia if they should accept, pulling them out of the Diadochi wars even if they've already joined in the fighting. The Antigonids will be able to choose if they will let Cappadocia go or if they want to add Cappadocia and Armenia to their enemies and declare war. Yeah, basically, when I was first playing as Armenia, we got this event basically saying there's a guy that is currently, I think, like the governor of this northern region, and he's actually the legitimate ruler of Cappadocia. Shall we send him off? And you got a few minor bonuses and stuff for sending him off back to Cappadocia, and nothing ever came of it. Like, nothing at all ever came of it. I was doing Armenia as a multiplayer game, so I did a few test runs as the country just to see what my opening moves would be, and in no situation did anything ever come of the Cappadocian event chain, but it's nice to see that this is being changed, and now there's some more interesting things happening in central Anatolia with that. I like it. Thracian war entry. Thrace now has its own separate event for joining or staying out of the war instead of being passively pulled in by Macedon. Lovely. With our attention divided, the treacherous Alchemikids have taken their opportunity to join the conflict once more. Thracian armies are crossing into Asia, exacerbating our already difficult circumstances. So now that just looks crazy. I'd be so scared if I saw those flags. Love it. Love it, love it, love it, fantastic. Last but not least, the scripted wars will now always call any relevant subjects into them. So, right now, as Phrygia, I guess, when all these Diadochi wars start, your subjects don't join you, which is a little bit fucked up. But now they will, which is not fucked up, it's great. Last but not least, the scripted wars will now call on any relevant subjects to. Modders will likely be happy to know that you can now scope to a war in script and add participants, so you can create your own wars in your mods, which is great as well. Egypt can now more efficiently opt out of the whole war if they so desire. Probably just kind of... Republic of Play did a video where he was very much critical of the fact that when playing as Egypt, he couldn't, like, not go to war, which I think the vast majority of people disagreed with him on, because they were already at war at game start. Like, there was actually no avoiding war, so a lot of people were like, no, this is stupid. You absolutely, the war should be like 90% guaranteed. He didn't like it because he called it railroading. I personally disagree entirely on every single word of that particular part of his video. But now it seems he's getting his way. Hopefully it's going to be very punishing if you decide as Egypt that you want no part of it. This is still not really possible for the Antigonids, however, who were deeply involved in the conflict long before the game starts and were in no position to withdraw without surrendering. Yeah, hopefully when the Egyptians say that they don't want to go to war, it's like, I don't know, the other Diadochi get really pissed off at him, he gets a bunch of legitimacy hits, stability perhaps, something like that. Just basically something to add a whole ton of pain for being such a coward. Anyway, moving on. Slave happiness. And look at this coward. Look at this coward. Anyway. With the revisions to pop happiness in Menander, we've also revisited slave happiness. Up until now, they've been your happiest pop type, unaffected by most things that would upset others. In the Menander update, slave happiness will generally be abysmal, but slaves only contribute a third of what a free pop would to Unrest, and will always produce full output regardless of happiness. So yeah, despite what your happiness of your slaves are, they're always going to give you as if they were 100% happiness. So that's perfectly fine. I don't see any reason that your slaves should be super happy, because let's be fair, the fucking slaves. Why would they be happy? So a lot of people have been saying that, oh no, slaves are going to be unhappy. This is a money nerf. It's not a fucking money nerf. Absolutely not. The only thing that is slightly a money nerf is this part here. Additionally, settlements will no longer have a desired ratio of 100% slaves, which I fucking love. I think this is fantastic, and I don't know if you disagree with this. I don't care about your opinion. It's worthless. Having settlements be 100% slaves unless you build a barracks is absolutely garbage, and now slaves and freemen will coexist in these locations unless buildings change the desired pop ratios. This is fantastic. Why would you want to have... There is the argument that 100% slaves will give you more money, and you want more money. Great, cool, good for you. The thing is, it's so unbelievably ahistoric that 100% of the people living in this area are all slaves. There is no freemen whatsoever. Is absolutely just a trash take to have. So stop having trash takes. So yeah, if you disagree with this, don't care about your opinion, you're wrong. Anyway, changes to integration, nobles versus citizens. As described in a previous dev diary in Menander, any culture which has at least citizen rights is considered integrated. Integrated cultures will use the same happiness modifiers as your primary country culture and be immune to assimilation. Each additional integrated culture also reduces the happiness of all other integrated cultures as well as your primary culture by 5%. Basically, you don't want to go mad and mental integrating all cultures all the time. That would be silly. However, to further differentiate between nobles and citizens, which are both civic right statuses that count as being integrated, there is now an additional penalty of 5% for each culture that is given noble rights. So, say you are playing as Rome, you have given citizen rights to the Etruscans, and you have given noble rights to the Sabinians. The Etruscans are going to give you 5%, and the Sabinians are going to give you 10%. Of a penalty. So you really want to be super careful on who you decide to integrate as a culture that you like, basically. If you want to give people noble rights, you're going to have to be a bit careful about that. And a lot of people, again, are being, oh, but you're basically not going to be able to integrate very many people because the happiness is going to go down so much. It's not. It's going to be absolutely fine. Don't worry about it. There's absolutely nothing to cry about. Shush. It's fine. There are so many different ways to increase happiness for all of your different pop types, be it by trade goods, be it by inventions. There's really not much that I see that is worth complaining about here. It'll take some time to get used to, and it'll take some time to understand when you want to integrate and when you want to assimilate, but it's not going to be that bad, and it's just something you're going to have to learn. Like, crying, it's fine. All countries that start with integrated cultures now have these as citizen rights, with only their primary culture granted rights of nobility. So I would imagine that sort of applies to Egypt. You're going to have the Egyptian cultures be citizen and only the Macedonians as nobles. That looks very much like what I see here. Bohairik. I guess that is the new term for the majority Egyptian peoples. It's the right color after all, so probably. Phoenicians and Fayumic are at Freeman. Sahidic is also at Freeman. But I mean, look at the happiness levels here. Bohairics are at 45%. Your primary culture is at 35%. Really, nothing to complain about. Shush. You can tell that I'm a little bit annoyed at people complaining for no reason. Mostly in my Discord. Whatever. Last but not least, there are now things that affect how long it takes to integrate cultures beyond how many pops you have. Each cultural right you have granted a culture will make it quicker to integrate, thereby reducing the stability you'll lose in the process. I like that. That sounds cool. It also now takes 50% longer to integrate a culture from another culture group, making it costlier to integrate cultures that are more distant from yours. which is interesting because I was probably leaning towards not integrating any of my primary culture group, because I think those would be the easiest to assimilate. I was probably only going to be integrating these foreign culture groups. Like, as Rome, for example, I would probably integrate Macedonian. I probably wouldn't integrate Etruscan or Sabinian or any of the other Italic cultures in Italy. That I just don't see the real need to do that. But, you know, this might kind of encourage that, I don't know. Now, on to stability, tyranny, and aggressive expansion. The Menander update has in general taken a long, deep look at how happiness and province loyalty works in the game, and such a revision could not be done without also looking at what these attributes do and how they've changed. So, starting off with stability, effects from our local stability is pop happiness and monthly legitimacy. Going down very, very slightly because he's only just below 50%. It changes negatively based on what? Base of 1%? Yeah, that's pretty much it, but these are going up. I guess, I don't know why it's going down here. Ah, because of the AE. Right, I didn't see that one. Yeah, going down because of the AE, that's new. Yes, that is new. So, as before, stability represents how safe and stable your country is. At low stability, life is chaotic and the state weak, while at high stability, your country is in a golden age of internal peace and prosperity. With the focus being on pops and having removed rebellion threshold for a more local rebellion system, as described in our previous diaries, we've decided to redesign the effects of stability to focus more on the people of your nation, the pops themselves. Stability has lost most of its direct effects and will now have influence on population happiness, decreasing it by as much as 50% when at its lowest point. Likewise, positive stability will now have a beneficial effect for population happiness in your entire empire, in addition to increased population growth and research. Now that is very, very nice. I like that a lot. I mean, yeah, of course, stability affecting happiness that just makes sense. Increased pop growth and research is also something I'm quite happy with as well. Since cultural decisions and integration have introduced a number of new ways to lose stability, either over time when integrating a new culture, or immediately when granting cultural rights, each such decision will have to weight the long-term happiness gain for the specific culture against the overall happiness of your empire. Love it. Tyranny also getting a change. Tyranny is now... Tyranny is lowering aggressive expansion change. That's cool. Threshold for civil war is now there as well. I think the rest are the same as what they currently are. Okay. Tyranny represents how authoritarian your rule is, how prone to exercise power through violence and arbitrary decrees from the ruler rather than through tradition and laws. As before, tyranny is not all bad. It will still decrease the cost of decisions such as imprisonment and execution. Those weren't exactly the things I did a whole lot anyway, but okay. It will also increase the output of slaves. It did that before, still, yes. Additionally, tyranny now increases the pace at which aggressive expansion is reduced in your country. That's very interesting. It's like the trade-off there. Of course, you're going to want to have your aggressive expansion low so you can go conquering again. But to get it lower faster, increasing your tyranny, that's a very interesting way of doing it, for sure. Very much interesting. Alright, on the negative side, tyranny will decrease the loyalty of all characters in your entire country. It used to only change governors and generals, so if it's every character, that's rough. That is very rough. While also increasing the chance that cohorts become loyal to their commanders rather than the state. I didn't mind that too much, to be perfectly honest, but okay. Tyranny will also decrease the threshold for how much power base disloyal characters need to start a civil war. That effect has been dropped from stability. So stability, yeah, no longer affecting how much, what your threshold is for anything, is very interesting. Stability is completely changed then. All right, let's move on to aggressive expansion then. Aggressive expansion, claim fabrication speed goes up, loyalty of subject states goes down. That's like a quarter. So if you've got 20 aggressive expansion, which is not unheard of, you'll lose 5 loyalty in your subjects. That's pretty rough, actually. And And it also now affects stability. I believe that is new. All right. Aggressive expansion represents the reaction towards your country's foreign policy. The main source of aggressive expansion remains declarations of war and annexations. Declarations of war giving you aggressive expansion? I don't think that's current, if that's the case. Just declaring a war doesn't give you AE. I don't believe. Fairly certain that that's not the case. I'm almost certain, but I am going to go and check this, because if I'm wrong, then that's... Let's just chuck into the Bosporan Kingdom a second. I have got a mod on, so you've got some fancy buttons. But let's grab... where is it? This one. We want to attack fucking Syndica, that's fine. We got no AE right now. Syndica is this one here. We'll attack on the 1st of November. I just want to test this because I'm fairly certain it's not the case that you get AE. Alright, we've got none. Shit, my bricks. I had absolutely no idea that declaring war actually gave you AE. I had absolutely no clue. Now that is... You learn something new every day, apparently. Jesus. Okay, fair enough. I'll take your word for it. I'll just cut that part out of the video. You didn't see that. That's fine. Whatever. Let's move on. With stability now being the main influence on population happiness, aggressive expansion will primarily affect your foreign relations and how loyal your subject states are. Its effect on happiness is not gone, however. The more aggressive expansion you acquire, the harder it will be to keep stability at or above the 50% mark, leading to a slow rise in dissent the more aggressively you act. At above 50 aggressive expansion, more severe effects on things such as integrated culture happiness and political influence gain also start to kick in. So this I'm totally fine with, although let's have a look at the modifiers here. So at 10 AE, you lose 0.1 stability a month. Thing is, that is completely, almost, overturned by having, 10 ruler zeal. Yeah, but that's only at 10 aggressive expansion. Because, yeah, having some wars will get you, 40, 50, something like that is fairly normal to be at. Losing 0.5 stab a month is pretty damn rough, actually. We have a look at stabbing a pig. That's only 0.2, that's 20 aggressive expansion that would overturn. That is a big, big change, for sure. That you're going to have to find new sources of stability then, because that could rack up very quickly. That is pretty big. That's a pretty big change. I'm fine with it. Going to war and being at war affecting your stability makes 100% sense. You just annex a whole swath of territory, it's going to affect your stability. You're going to be less stable than you were before. So I get it, and I totally understand why it's there. It makes sense that it's there. It's just a big change that's going to take some getting used to, for sure. Very much so. Okay. Okay, I'm okay with this. Gonna just take a lot of getting used to. Republics and Senate support. As described in the previous dev diary, we've reworked republics to use a senatorial system where votes are tied to characters, and the Senate will approve of your actions based on how approving its parties are of your governance. Yes, we do indeed have that. We have since played more with the system and decided that we would like to vest some more authority with the consuls, but also tie how well you handle the demands of the Senate to the well-being of the state. Rather than being completely hindered to act at less than 50% Senate support, you can now still take action as long as you do not have 70% of the Senate against you. Taking any decision with less than the support of 60% of the Senate will, however, result in scaled gained tyranny, making all such actions very costly. So between 60 and 70%. So if you've got, between 30 and 40% people that are supporting your actions, it's going to give you a ton of tyranny. So at the moment you've got 60% Senate support, Wait, you've got less than 60% Senate support. What? No, if you've got 70% of the Senate against you. Oh, taking any decision with less than the support of 60%. So if you got... Okay. So there is a tyranny hit, even if the majority support you. And that's a pretty damn hefty tyranny hit. What's the percentage? He's got 50% support, and that's 7 tyranny. That's pretty rough, honestly. Well, you can't really... Has he got that much support? No, he's got 48. Okay, he's got less than 50%. So he's lost, what's that? 11.09 gives him 7.38 tyranny. I don't know where that number is coming from. I don't know what the maths are on that. But that does seem like a hefty amount for sure. Very much so. Okay. Republics are going to be very interesting to play. That's for damn sure. Anyway, additionally, Senate support, i.e. the number of seats that would vote in your favor, is no longer only useful for approving your actions. Any republic with the total Senate support of over 50% will now benefit from a passive reduction of tyranny per month. Oh, that's nice. Okay, so keeping your Senate happy, your pops happy, not pops, your characters happy, you will lose tyranny. I like that. That does make, these tyranny hits a bit more palatable. Now okay, I need to sort out the senators before I do any more of these decisions that they don't like. Although, having said that, you take this tyranny hit. If you have a high tyranny, getting the Senate to support you is going to be rough because tyranny now affects the loyalty of all characters, apparently. So, hopefully you're not going to end up in some kind of tyrannical death spiral. Going to be a very interesting run, I think. Okay. Last but not least, the members of a party will now receive or lose loyalty based on how much their party approves of your governance. How that I think this line alone could take up a dev diary. Like, how of my governance? What about my governance? Like, how does the AI party members see, my approval of or what I'm doing? Is it all based on the approval ratings here? Probably. I guess probably so. All right, Unrest and forts. So what do we see here? Unrest, unhappy pops give some unrest. Fort levels give negative 0.5 unrest, and I assume that is just a single. Oh, sorry, there's 2 forts. 0.25 unrest per fort. That's not bad, actually. Overall, there's a lot more to keeping pops happy in Menander, other than, from importing goods to enacting cultural decisions or integrating foreign elites. Unhappiness also has more immediate risk associated with it, since it increases unrest, which can spark local rebellions. Sometimes it will still be more efficient, however, to fight the symptoms rather than the causes of unhappiness. In Menander Update, you will likely still want to assign troops to your governors to reduce the unrest in their entire governorship. New in Menander, in the same vein, is that you can now decrease the unrest of all territories in a province by constructing forts there. This reflects the second use of stationary fortifications throughout history, beyond their usefulness in direct warfare. Their cost has also been increased to reflect the new, wider utility in maintaining civil order. How much? How much are we now going to be paying for forts, though? I mean, I am totally in favor of fortifications decreasing unrest. That makes sense. How much are we going to be paying? Just out of curiosity, would be nice to know. It's going to mean you want more forts, though, which the AI isn't very good at building forts. It either spams the shit out of them, or doesn't have enough of them, or deletes them. So that's going to be interesting. Like, how many forts are we going to want? What is the balance there? I'm not sure. It'll be interesting to find out. Alright, fair enough. Last but not least, in this diary, about many little new things, I will leave you with some screenshots of the work that has been done on diversifying the starting populations in the world, making pops more diverse where broad cultural groups meet, and adding cultural minorities. It's been an ongoing process for many updates, but its effect on gameplay has perhaps never been as pronounced as in Menander. So you see here is the dominant cultures in Italy, and focus mostly there on the Etruscan pops here. They're from this map, you would assume that the Etruscans are just in this very small region here. However, if we move to look at Etruscan presence, the pops in all of Italy, Etruscans are fairly widespread across the area. It's not just this tiny area again. They're north of whatever these mountains are called. They've got some dudes on the coast over here. I like it. That's, you know, more spread out, more rich, more diverse. I like it. Similarly, we have the Ligurians moving, you know, up past the mountains. They're not just on the coast anymore, straight into the Lepontic Po Valley. Yeah, I like it. Now we have the dominant cultures in Africa. So the Punics kind of dominate the coast, and the Massilians, and Gaetulians all in the south. However, when we have a look for just the Massilians, you can see they also dominate the coastline. So they're not dominant, but they are there, which is nice. I like that. Okay, cool. And unfortunately, that is it for the dev diary. However, having said that, there are some dev comments, so we'll move on to those. Does the Cappadocian tag still keep its Macedonian culture? It was a continuation of the Achaemenid Cappadocian satrapy, and Cappadocian culture would make much more sense than a foreign one. Cappadocia changes religion, primary culture, and military traditions if they embrace their returning king. But this is also true in the version you're currently playing. Okay, so they're going to stick with Macedonian culture to start with, but they may change if they embrace the return of the dude that I forgot the name of already. Began with an A. Very nice changes overall. Will tribesmen still remain at 80% base happiness? In 1.4, tribesmen are at a base of 80%, but their happiness is reduced for every point of civilization value in the location they live, whereas other types had higher base but increased from civilization value. In 1.5, however, as described in previous diaries, the base for all pop types have changed significantly with the introduction of cultural happiness and with a general rebalance of happiness. So, not much about what you're used to will be true when it comes to population happiness. Nobles are at base -50, citizens -34, Freemen -20, tribesmen are at base +16, but civ value will reduce their happiness, and then slaves are at base of -30. Okay. I just guess there's going to be less ways to make them happy as well. Okay. I think it's a very good change. However, does the AI understand this well? Always the major question. Will they keep more forts around internally now instead of just on the borders? It will do its best to make use of it. That's kind of a non-answer, but okay. Very nice. This is sorely lacking in the game right now. I'm not sure what he's replying to, with most areas seeing hard borders between cultures. So he's talking about the cultures. Okay. Which other regions is this being done to? Something we've added more of in the past. We'll continue doing with each patch. Another area that had some work done in this regard in 1.5 is Anatolia and Persia, together with a revamp of majority culture parts in Persia's case, but I believe I already showed this in an earlier diary. Okay. Any chance war score costs will be reduced? Since Tyranny won't reduce war score costs anymore, I fear that late game wars will be even more fruitless. They are looking at compensating for the war score cost discounts lost in Tyranny. Okay, interesting to see what they do about that then. This is all good, but I have some questions. How will the AI act on these decisions about the new events? Will it be totally random? He's talking about the Diadochi things. Or be more inclined to join the war? Will they take into consideration the same things that the AI do for normal wars? As in 1.4, it's waited to go for the war. In real life, this war had not really ended, and opting out is really mostly meant for human players. Darren. AI Antigonid's reaction to the ultimatums of the other countries is, however, a bit dependent on just how badly affected they already are. There is a chance they will give in and surrender territory to keep one of its tormentors away. That makes sense. Like, if the Antigonids already been beaten up by Macedon and the Seleucids and probably Cappadocia and Thrace, they may give in to Egypt's demands for the Palestine region. So yeah, that makes sense. I like it. All right, but I would love to know what you guys think. What are your thoughts on this dev diary and all the myriad of different changes that are going to be in this? I have actually got no idea what I'm going to be calling this video. Usually I name it after some of the things that are in the dev diary, but I don't have enough characters for a title for that, if I was going to put everything in. So, no idea. But I'm wholly in favor of all the changes here. Even the aggressive expansion change affecting stability. It's just going to be a new way of playing. It's going to be more interesting, I feel, to manage your stability. Right now, it is fairly easy to get a fuck ton of stability, and often I find myself, you know, hovering around 70 to 80, purely because there are so many events that will give you stability, especially the little cute events. So, yeah, I'm happy, but I'd love to know what your pop happiness is. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Like the video if you liked it, if you want to keep up to date with all Imperator Rome news and updates, hit the subscribe button, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye for now.